The IEC commissioned an investigation into the feasibility of running the polls in October, and the findings was that it would be unconstitutional and actually threaten the health of the electorate if it was held in October due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The IEC has now asked the court to allow for elections to be held by the end of February next year, when many more South Africans have been vaccinated. But the executive chair of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, Tselane, says that the ConCourt may not be persuaded to postpone the elections. He joins us now. Mr. Tselane, thank you for being with us. We are all acting as if these elections are already delayed, but you're saying we could be jumping the gun. This still has to go to the court. And why do you think the Constitutional Court won't allow for a date change when the investigation said it would be unconstitutional for people to vote?
Well, there are many process issues that and hurdles that the Commission is supposed to have gone through. And unfortunately, the Commission did not follow through some of those processes. Firstly, the role of the Constitutional Court, like all other courts, is to interpret legislation, and the interpretation thereof. And then therefore, they are most likely going to be saying, but the Section 159, subsection 3, subsection 2 of the Constitution says that you've got to have the elections within a particular period, and then you've got to proceed accordingly. So the IEC is likely to raise, therefore, the issue of the report that you have referred to, Justice Mosenega's report, but in the manner that I've dealt with the process, I'm not persuaded that the Constitutional Court will actually grant the IEC the relief that it seeks. And then here are the two main reasons. One is that the IEC has presented two election timetables. The first election timetable says we can actually have the elections on the 27th of October. The only thing that we are not able to do at this stage in terms of our legal obligations is to have registration weekend. Now, registration weekend is not a legal requirement, and therefore will not persuade the court to say postpone the elections on the basis of this. But the second aspect is that the IEC is saying to the Constitutional Court, the main reason why we want to postpone these elections is because of the pandemic, and therefore postpone this from the 27th of October to February. However, if you agree with us on the postponement, on the 18th and the 19th of September, which is more than a month before the 27th of October, we will have all the registration stations open, and then we will have registration. So it baffles me that the IEC would actually say that they do not want to have the 27th as a super spreader event, but at the same time they are prepared to have the 18th and 19th of September, which is more than a month early, as a super spreader event.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is there not a possibility now to register online, making registration possibly a little bit more safer, but you can't vote online in South Africa, so that would be a different issue to hold an actual election?
No, absolutely. However, and I think this is a very important point, is that the IEC, again, in its submission, it says that it is hoping to have 400,000 new voters to register. But as I've already argued, firstly, there is no legal requirement for the IEC to have a registration weekend. But secondly, the fact that the IEC is intending to have registration during a pandemic, in fact, defeats the purpose. So you can't be saying you can't have the elections on the 27th of October, but you are prepared to have registration on the 18th and 19th of September. Yeah. Because then what is the main reason of your concern? Like I've said, that argument is self-defeat.
All right, so if the Constitutional Court says it doesn't want to change the dates, then what? We hold elections in October, but many South Africans may not want to go and vote. So what happens?
No, we've had this situation before. In Merafon, during the 2011 boycotted elections, a specific number of people to have voted and registered. Some people will still go to the voter stations to vote. And then the requirement in terms of the IEC's obligation, according to the Constitution, and I think I need to repeat this, that in terms of the Constitution, the IEC has got three main responsibilities: to organize, manage, and deliver the elections, to ensure that those elections are free and fair, and to declare the results thereof within a reasonable period. Now, the last aspect is important, or the last mandate is important. The IEC has an obligation to declare the results irrespective of how many people have participated in the elections or not. So the Constitutional Court is not going to be saying to them, we've got low voter turnout and therefore the elections should be nullified, because there is no such requirement in law for a particular number of people to have participated in elections in order for those elections to be legitimate. For some of us, we would obviously argue that it is important for the Commission to have as many people as possible participating. But as I've indicated, there is no such requirement that you've got to have a particular threshold before you can declare the results of the elections. Whatever the number of people participate in the elections, you've got to declare the results thereof. So even if there are few people participating, you've got to declare the results.
All right, but what a pity for democracy if people don't go out in their numbers. Some commentators have raised a different option whereby it goes back to the legislature and the Constitution is changed with a 2/3 majority. Is that possible? How quickly could that happen?
In fact, I think that is the first step that the Commission should have taken, to go to Parliament and ask Parliament to change Section 159 of the Constitution in order to allow for the elections to take place outside the 90 period stipulated by the Constitution. Now, they have not done so. In fact, when they appeared before the Portfolio Committee, and then this question was raised, the argument was incoherent, and therefore it is the same question that is going to be raised by the Constitutional Court to say, but because you know that our role is to interpret and interpret the legislation and application thereof, and people who are supposed to be changing the Constitution are the lawmakers, did you approach Parliament? Now, you can't just say, we thought Parliament the process was going to be taken long. So you basically approaching the Constitutional Court on the basis that it would have been inconvenient for us to go to Parliament. And I don't think that particular argument is going to fly. But because the Electoral Commission, in any case, has submitted two election timetables. One election timetable says, we are ready and prepared to have the elections on the 27th of October. And the other one says, allow us to have the elections in February. The Constitutional Court is going to be asking them, what are the problems in relation to you having the elections on the 27th? Now, they can't use the COVID pandemic argument anymore, because in any case, even with the postponement, they are prepared to have the elections on the registration on the 18th and 19th of September, which comes more than a month before the 27th of October.
All right, well, we will follow how this plays out in the Constitutional Court when it comes out with their decision. But this coming from a former electoral commissioner saying that the Constitutional Court may not want to wade in and may take a dim view of some of the IEC actions. That was Executive Chair of the Institute of Electoral Management Services in Africa, Tselane.